Welcome to Beyond Bones and Muscles, a Legent Health podcast. Created by the team at Legent Health, a healthcare system devoted to helping you live life to the fullest. Your health, our priority. Each episode, Chief Operating Officer Daniel Brazell keeps your finger on the Legent pulse, going beyond the bones and muscles of Legent Health. We will discuss orthopedic and spine industry education and analysis, along with news from around the Legent healthcare system.
Hello, everybody. This is Danny Brazell. I'm Chief Operating Officer here at Legent Health, and welcome you all to our Beyond Bones and Muscle podcast. We've had this going on for some time now, and this particular session or podcast, I'm really excited because, as you can see here in our studio audience, we have a familiar face, and we also have a new face. And then dialing in remotely, virtually, we have two new leaders as well to the organization. I'm excited to really introduce everyone to. But as I alluded to in our last podcast, we have some exciting news that was going to be forthcoming related to Legent Health and its future in regards to where we're going as an organization. And that's what we're going to talk about today in our podcast is a new affiliation, a new partnership that we've established. So in studio, I've got with me Dr. Todd Albert with Hospital for Special Surgery. I've got Jordan Fowler, our CEO and founder. And then joining in virtually, we've got John Michael Reese, who's a principal at General Atlantic. And we also have Dr. Mark Bowen, who's with Hospital for Special Surgery. He's a medical advisor, and he leads strategy and business development as well. So the reason why we're together today is really to talk about a new partnership that's been formed. General Atlantic and HSS have come together and partnered with Legent Health to really form a national platform for musculoskeletal facilities related to surgery centers and surgical hospitals. And we're excited to really be partnered with them. So what we're going to do this today is talk about really the why for why we came together in this partnership, understand sort of where we are and where we're going throughout the organization, and really kind of introduce this new relationship to the broader audience. There's been some press releases that have come out, but this is going to give us an opportunity to talk about the relationship and really for everyone to understand why this partnership came together. So we're excited about that. So as we talk about this, the why for partnering with HSS and GA, I think it's important to kind of go backwards and understand the relationship of General Atlantic and HSS to start before we talk about Legent. So John Michael, I'll start with you. From your perspective, maybe you can give us a little bit of history on the relationship between HSS and GA and how that all came to fruition. And then Dr. Bowen, I'd love to hear from you as well from an HSS perspective.
Sure, Daniel, happy to do it. First, I would just, I want to say that we're absolutely thrilled to be partnered with both HSS and with Legent on the work we're doing here. HSS, obviously the number one brand and global leader in orthopedic and musculoskeletal care, and has been for many, many years. And maybe rather than rattle off all the names of everyone who's been involved with the project here over the last 3 years or so since the idea was formed, I would just say there's been really strong connectivity, even at the kind of highest, most senior levels of both the General Atlantic and the HSS organizations. Big team effort to get to this point, a lot of folks involved, and very excited to be kind of where we are today and sort of closing the partnership and being off to the races. Obviously, HSS has, I'll brag on HSS for Mark and for the team. They've got, the top echelon, many of the top echelon of frankly, ortho and sports focused physicians globally. They produce incredible, clinical outcomes, and they deliver what I think is widely regarded as a truly differentiated experience to the patients they serve. HSS is obviously headquartered here in New York. They have a big footprint here in the tri-state area and a nascent but growing footprint in the South Florida market as well. And so the idea for the partnership between GA and HSS originally was to actually build a new company from scratch. The idea was that HSS and GA would capitalize and we would go out and recruit a full management team to build a new organization from the ground up. And actually around a year ago, as we were heading down that path, formally, we came across Jordan and the Legent team, and we became quickly enamored with the idea of actually having Legent be the starting point or the cornerstone from which we would actually just build this national player in the outpatient ortho and spine space. And given Legent already had a strong presence, really primarily in the Texas market, but had an appetite and I think the management team and bandwidth and capabilities to scale rapidly, both in existing and in new markets. Legent was exceptionally well aligned with sort of how we viewed the thesis and how we viewed the exercise. So what I would say is the stars, it's better to be lucky than good. The stars really aligned nicely as we were heading down this path of building a new company. Jordan and the Legent team were preparing, I think, to recapitalize the business and find a new sponsor to help shepherd the business through their next phase of growth. And I'll of course let Jordan and others speak for themselves, but I think the alignment was there. This focus on orthopedic and spine care delivery in a lower cost kind of ASC setting was exceptional, and we just couldn't be more thrilled than to be partnered with HSS and Legent on this.
Yeah, that's great. Dr. Bowen, as well, from your perspective, obviously you've been a leader of HSS, and you've seen sort of the landscape nationally through your relationships and your alumni network. What was the thought process from the HSS side as well when it came to, one, the alignment with General Atlantic, but then two, really growing out that platform?
Sure. I will reiterate John Michael's comments about really being excited about, first, our partnership with General Atlantic, and then this opportunity that came about with Legent. Just as a matter of a little bit of background for HSS, the idea was a pretty straightforward concept. It was based primarily on a growing nationwide demand for outpatient orthopedic and spine surgical services, and a really strong, what we felt were tailwinds supporting a business opportunity for HSS. Partly on the fact that we could just capitalize on what we felt was our national reputation, clinical experience, and expertise. And then by expanding, owning, and operating high-performance surgery centers across the country, really developing a national network of ambulatory surgery centers that we can leverage. We have very, very strong network of residents, former residents and fellows, over 1,700 surgeons, both as potential partners, but also to help us recruit top-tier talent. I think in that process, the reality of pulling that off and this bold concept, ambitious project, really caused HSS to look for a partner, and GA was really the perfect partner. They have considerable experience in building physician-aligned healthcare platforms, and really their focus on strong culture and relationship building was very attractive. And of course, their significant capital base made them really the perfect partner. So we were very, very excited to partner with them. And then, as John Michael said, identifying Legent as a really attractive, like-minded in terms of focus on mostly orthopedic and spine surgery, and that was a real clear market winner in their area, made them super attractive as a starting point, rather than trying to build an entire management team from scratch.
Yeah, excellent. It really sounds like, from your guys' vantage point, it really helped to accelerate the plan, jumping ahead instead of trying to build an asset from scratch, take a successful regional or statewide platform and really help to accelerate that growth, which is awesome. So if you're looking at your sort of original concept of coming together and then looking at what we've established here of recent, what would you say the goals would be for this partnership? I know you've touched on it a bit about a national platform, but maybe just talk a bit more, and maybe Dr. Bowen, I'll go to you for this, just sort of the strategic goals that we should all be looking forward to related to the partnership.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think that as I thought about this question ahead of time, I really think it's sort of supportive collaboration. I really believe that we should, we're going to concentrate on our areas of expertise, and already are. I think that the goal is to build state-of-the-art ASCs with high-quality physician partners that are really committed to the highest of clinical standards, and that we will, continue to refine and develop strategy based on looking at the potential markets, both where opportunities exist and where we have, connections, and where those opportunities really are strong based on market conditions. So I think we're all going to, do what we do best, I hope, and work forward from there.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. So Jordan, I'm going to now pivot to you, founder of Legent. put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to the organization. A lot of changes, positive as far as growth and accelerated growth. You build a phenomenal management team here internally throughout the organization. But what made this alignment or this partnership appealing to you? Because obviously there's a lot of players in the market, a lot of opportunities, but this one specifically seems to resonate really well with the entire market. So what was the background there?
I think, as John Michael said, better to be lucky than good. Definitely very fortunate we are as an organization. And honestly, this time of year, it's always a point of reflection. And so this conversation comes at an interesting time. Timing is everything. We as an organization, we were the scrappy underdog.
Yeah.
And, we would not have been ready for this a year ago or even 2 years ago or even 8 months ago. We had a lot to go through on our own to get to where we are now. And we went through that underdog mentality where nobody saw us coming. We believed we could be successful in spite of some very challenging times. And we weathered those times, and those times would have, probably taken out most companies. And you've been through them with me.
100%.
And then the inertia started to work in our favor. As we went into 2025, we had this amazing target, which was, it seemed lofty to some, but what we expected to happen in 25 was nothing short of remarkable to the extent we could achieve it. And as an organization, we were at a point where we had our footing, we had the right leadership team. We really spent the time nurturing the platform so that we could handle our current portfolio of facilities, and we became more dialed in on managing our facilities, managing the back end, all important components that one doesn't, not the exciting things, but one doesn't really focus on when they think about what we do. And so we found ourselves in a position in this year where we really had our footing and we really found our mojo as an organization. And then comes, this conversation, early stage, the end of last year, but really kind of started to evolve the beginning of this year with, well, just think about it. One of the top private equity groups in the world, and not just in terms of, capital raised and capital deployed, but what I think sets General Atlantic apart is they're a growth equity shop that really cares about building great companies and not just financial engineering and creating leverage and, building some scale to sell to where what they leave behind isn't really a high quality company. So having a group like that involved was, to me, like almost an aspirational thing. And then, of course, HSS, they personify the best.
Right.
And we've gone through that, from that scrappy underdog mentality to this up-and-comer to where, in my point of view, in our space, I believe we're the best today. And to have HSS along our side, helping us from a vantage point of already being the best for decades, helping us hone our skills to be the best, to wake up every day, believe we're the best. It's surreal that it all came together. And now what we can do, which is already, we're already seeing the fruits of the partnership, where it's becoming its own entity that's gelling together, where HSS is every day helping us think about how we do things, whether it's technology that they're using, clinical protocols, or connecting us with high-quality surgeons in markets that we're interested in. We have General Atlantic that's helping us really take a different perspective of what it takes to be a great company. It's not sometimes about the costs of today, but it's about seeding for the future. And so a longer view. So all these things are happening, and we're 60, 70 days after closing the deal, and it already feels like we're one unit. So from my perspective, it wasn't really a choice of other options. It really came together just naturally.
Yeah, very organic.
And it became just the future.
Yeah.
And one that, in hindsight, I've always aspired to, but just couldn't really articulate.
Yeah.
And I think the entire organization feels that. You feel it. Everybody's completely just charged by the opportunity we have. And we're all waking up every day feeling like the best versus this up-and-comer. And I think that's a big shift in mentality. And seeing across from me now, we have an extraordinary individual who, I mean, to think 6 months ago would this individual be part of the organization, onboarding as our CMO, I never would have believed it. And I mean, that's just another case in point on what this partnership is going to yield.
Yeah, and before I get to you, Dr. Albert, because we're going to give you your flowers for sure. I just personally, being in this space for, over a decade now, and always hearing the HSS name, the brand, the reputation, me being a West Coast guy, it was always something very aspirational, but never attainable to really be able to have that, this entity as a partner. So even personally, as a leader, to be able to work with HSS was a bit intimidating coming out the gate. But I will tell you, to your point, 60, 70 days into the relationship, but even leading up to this, the collaboration and the humility that we've seen from our HSS and GA partners to really look to us as relative subject matter experts and not necessarily just want to dictate the terms of where we're going to go as an organization has been really refreshing, which makes us being the entire organization, excited about the future. So I'm really, really personally excited about that. But Jordan, before I go to Dr. Albert, just one more for you. When you think about Legent and where it was and where it was going, and now shifting pretty quickly to really a growth story, like how do you see the future now when you think about this relationship and what we can be?
Yeah, you know what? But I think we were on that track. We knew that we were humbled by challenging times in 2022 and 2023, and we knew 2025 was the year we'd prove to ourselves that we were ready for growth, and we did that. Yeah. And so this is in stride. Like we're ready to grow. But to presume that we knew how to grow would be a little presumptuous.
Right.
So the advantage we have now is we're working with people that know how to grow.
Yeah, I definitely share that sentiment. All right. So, Dr. Albert, welcome to the team, our new Chief Medical Officer. Why don't you just give a little bit of your background to the audience so folks, really understand who you are, and then talk about your approach to clinical oversight and leadership, both tactically and strategically, in this new role as Chief Medical Officer at Legent Health.
Sure. Thank you so much. I'm really honored to be here. And everything that's been said, I totally agree with what I've observed. And I'm a little bit of a unicorn in the sense that what was being said, I've experienced. I am a spine surgeon. I've been so for 30 years. But I've also had the opportunity to work at two really great orthopedic centers. I trained and then ended up running the Rothman Institute, and I was there through a period of huge growth. I ran it. We went from about 15 physicians to about 120. Wow. Yeah. And we developed two orthopedic hospitals, multiple ambulatory surgery centers that we owned. So I've had that experience and, trying to lead a group of physicians. And then I was really lucky to come to HSS in 2014 to be the surgeon in chief. And the thing I observed about HSS coming from somewhere else that is absolutely amazing, and if it can be transferable, it's truly amazing, is the culture. The culture there of every single person in the building is one where they act as if it's their family business and they own the business. And with that comes a culture of expecting excellence. The patients feel it and they have an amazing experience. And there's a pressure, in a sense, a very positive pressure on all the practitioners to deliver the best care, best quality, and expect it of each other. And what I would hope to do in terms of managing groups of physicians is get everybody to hold hands and say, this is who we are, and we expect it of each other. And we sign on the line that we're going to hold ourselves, each one of us, to the highest standards. And, I don't want to say it's easy, but it's pretty obvious when there's data that shows certain behaviors lead to really much better results, better patient experience. And I hope that here, and having met everybody on the management team here, it's an amazing group of people, and I feel that same culture. I think, I don't want to say it'll be easy, nothing's easy, but I think together we're going to be able to build something that's absolutely amazing.
No, that's great. And I think the complexity that the role that you have is you've got different markets, different physician leadership types, different cultures, right, within each sub-market, and being able to corral that into a sort of a unified voice. So I think your approach that you've outlined to us thus far of really establishing that culture, that consistency, that sort of, self-accountability within the physician base, that'll translate down to the team, to the clinical staff, the nursing staff, et cetera. And really is something that we're very excited to onboard.
So I'm really looking forward to it. I think it'll be a great challenge, but a fun challenge.
Yeah, that's right. That's good.
For sure.
All right. Well, again, welcome you to the team.
Thank you.
So, Jordan, I'm going to come back to you, and then perhaps you and John Micheal and Dr. Bowen can comment on this. But you've got two large institutions coming together, General Atlantic, HSS. You've got Legent Health, who's really an up-and-coming disruptor in the market, and you merge together, form a new partnership. The question is, well, how do you brand something like that, right? What do you call it? There's a million different machinations that you can come up with, but ultimately we did land on an outward-facing naming of the organization, and we're excited to kind of announce that in this podcast as well. So, Jordan, maybe talk a little bit about the thought process and where it landed.
Sure. So, there was no pride of authorship originally, so we went back to the drawing board as a board and worked with an organization to go through the process of identifying the right branding and right name for this company. And what was really interesting, Dr. Bowen really had the epiphany, which was that Legent is actually a great representation of who we are as an organization and reflects who we want to be as well. And so it's a strong name. When you think about us, we being focused on orthopedic and spine, yes, it has a softness to it, but it has a strength, right? So of course we're empathetic but yet we're strong and we can execute. And so we went through that process, and it was really interesting after looking at quite a few different names and going through like a scientific approach to arriving at one. Full circle back to Legent.
Yeah.
And
it
was pretty cool.
Yeah, it really was.
Yes.
Just in conjunction with Jordan's comment, Dr. Bowen, I'll go to you next. Your thoughts on that process as well. Obviously, Jordan said you had the epiphany, but you've got such a strong brand in HSS. Clearly, that wasn't going to be the national platform's brand as you guys saw it. But how did you feel about that process and then ultimately landing on Legent Health as well?
Yeah, I thought it was a very interesting process and very enlightening in terms of I'd actually never been through a naming process like that before, and it was a very serious group of people who helped us with that. And I think in the end, on a video, we all kind of were looking at each other, wondering, there was not a name that we were all identifying as something better, and Legent has already established itself. It's a good name, as Jordan said, and it does describe to some extent what we're about. And I think we really all felt that it was where we should land. But I enjoyed the process. It was very interesting.
It's nice when sometimes the easy answer is allowed to be the right answer as well. A little bit of elegance and simplicity from that perspective.
Definitely. Well, there you hear it, team or audience. Legent Health is where we landed. We're excited to have to do a ton of signage changes, but we really think the muscle behind the name now is going to really help us to catapult forward. So really in wrapping up, I kind of just throw this out there, and Dr. Albert, I'll start with you. When you think about the current and the future outlook of the organization, sort of what are you most excited about?
Well, I'm most excited about the people personally for me, of who we get to work with, and with my HSS and GA colleagues. I think this triad is amazing. But I'm also really excited to try and grow something that, whether it's a really big regional or national platform, people know is like, maybe it's not the most elegant analogy, but think about when you go to McDonald's and you go to McDonald's in Tokyo, you know exactly the way the hamburger is going to taste. What I would like to have us develop is whether you go to Legent in Florida, you went to Legent in whatever, name the state, you're going to get a spectacular experience and a spectacular surgical intervention and result.
Yeah.
And that everybody knows that. And if we could build that brand and that delivery of services, I think that would be, we win. We win. And the patients win.
I agree. All right, good. Thought I'd go around the table, but I think most of us will echo that sentiment. But just in conclusion, Jordan, as well, again, this has been, your baby. You built this up, and we're just sort of in the second or third inning, I would say, as far as where we're going in this chapter, this chapter of the book, I should say. What closing words would you say to the audience in regards to where we are and where we're going, and your point of view for the organization?
No, I think obviously I echo what Dr. Albert just said. That's a great perspective on what our goals are and why this is so interesting. Is I really enjoy working with the people that I'm working with. I really look forward to seeing what happens next year, seeing what happens the year after. I think everybody in the organization and people not a part of the organization now have an expectation of us to be the best, and I'm excited for us to walk the walk, truly, and I expect that of us, and I think we all expect that of ourselves in the organization. So I'm just very grateful and excited about what's to come, and look forward to looking back on those times.
Yeah, well, good. Well, I want to thank all four of you for joining. Dr. Bowen, John Micheal joining remotely, and then Dr. Albert, Jordan being here in the studio. This is probably our most pivotal and important podcast that we've had in regards to our Beyond Bones and Muscle, to really be able to speak to the audience, both external and internal, about the future state of the organization, such a strategic and critical alignment that we put together here, and the prospects of the future. We've already seen tons of momentum from folks who had heard of us before but didn't really know much, or calling in, asking questions about the relationship and where are we going, et cetera. So there's just a lot of excitement and momentum around, and we really plan to really capitalize upon that. So with that, again, I want to thank everybody for joining this podcast, and thank the audience for tuning in. We're going to have more podcasts forthcoming to talk specifically about where we're going as an organization, some immediate opportunities that we're looking at. But until then, we want to thank you guys for joining the Beyond Bones and Muscle podcast, and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Daniel.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Beyond Bones and Muscles, a Legent Health podcast. We want to hear from you. Subscribe and leave us a rating. Your feedback helps improve our show. For more information about Legent Health, go to legenthealthservices.com.